Immigrants 100% built America, and we should absolutely be giving them credit for that. I could literally give you 1,000 reasons why immigrants built America. They're responsible for the stagnation of minimum wage because they prioritize their small business tax cuts for cross-racial labor solidarity, fracturing the working class and blocking universal wage hikes. They're the architectures of Jim Crow. While the elites might have designed it, they enforced it daily. It was relied on their complicity and participation. They're the reason why we don't have universal health care, because they have historically aligned themselves with conservatives as a path to assimilation into whiteness. They're the reason why welfare programs have disappeared, because they keep perpetuating the bootstrap myth. They're the reason why black communities are over-policed, because they keep perpetuating the model minority myth, and they keep pathologizing black American behavior. And they're the reason for ICE, which was primarily staffed and built by first and second generation immigrants from militarized cultures. They are the co-creators of white supremacy. They absolutely deserve credit for that. You have helped build the exact system in which you are complaining about today. And the only reason that you're complaining now is because the benefits that you got from upholding the system are drying up. And now all of a sudden you don't see this country as such a great place. But it was great when black people were the only people who were being harmed by it. But now that that harm is crossing over to everyone, now all of a sudden America is a fascist country. Please. This is absolutely the country that you built. You are 100% right. Immigrants built America. Everything that's fucking wrong with it, you helped build. You have consistently worked against black people's fight for social equality and justice. So yes, you built America. Congratulations. You built a fucking ticking time bomb, and I will absolutely give you credit for that.
Hi guys, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. It's so good to have you. Thank you so much for clicking when you saw this video. So I came across today's video on my FYP of different people, especially immigrants, and saying things like they built America, UK, people saying that immigrants built America. And it's really funny to me, knowing fully well that that is not the whole truth. Yes, they make that contribution, but that does not mean that they actually built America. And a lot of people have tried to educate them, but it's as if that the more they educate them, the more the whole thing, changes. The more they keep pushing it forward and bringing up different things that they help create, so many things that they help build, so many things that they have invested and all of that. And the other time it was the new mayor of New York saying that immigrants built New York. Like, just so many things that they have said about, and somehow they try to sideline the hard labor and the hard work of Black Americans and how they help build America. Anyway, guys, I'm going to let the rest of the videos roll, then I'll come back with more commentary. Credit belongs to original creators of these videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Let's go watch, then I'll come back with more.
It's Black History Month, and understanding all the turbulence and all of the social devastation happening in the U.S. right now, there's an ongoing conversation about immigrants building America. You can go to many cities and many states in America, and you will find great immigrant contribution. Immigrant contribution so important that it added to the social aspects of these locations. Haitians in Chicago, right? Nigerians in Texas, Chinese people in California, many more. Caribbeans in New York, for example. And it's true. These things are true. Immigrants have showed up in different corners of America. They've done their thing. Immigrants contribute greatly to the social understanding of what America is, especially by region. But there isn't a square inch, a mere foot, a pile of sand or dirt in America that you'll put your foot on that has not been modified by the bloodshed, hard work, and torture of indigenous and African Americans. Once again, while you can go to some places and find great immigrant contribution, Latin people in Miami, yes, you will always, no matter where you go in America, you will always step on the blood and hard work of African Americans and indigenous people, because they are the ones who built this country through sheer pain and slavery. The infrastructure of the U.S. is on their backs. And while the work of immigrants is not dismissed, immigrants contributed on top of that, not from that. I'm not even sure why this is a conversation. Yes, immigrants are important to America. Immigrants are important, period. But immigrants didn't build America. Immigrants added on to something that was already being built non-consensually, obviously, the enslavement of these people.
We are not talking about good people.
The labor of enslaved black people built America. And when we say otherwise, it's erasing the actual gruesome history of this country, which directly impacted Black and Native Americans. When we speak about American history, we need to be accurate and ensure we understand timelines and definitions. No Black person in the Americas, from Canada to Argentina to Brazil to Trinidad, is an immigrant. Forced migration and enslavement for the development of new countries in the New World doesn't equal immigration. Slaves built the monuments from the White House to the U.S. Capitol and the Washington Monument, often performing the quarrying, masonry, and labor. Their labor was central to the construction of early American infrastructure, particularly in Washington, D.C. and the southern states. Slaves built the ports in New York City, the flattening of all the lands in all the cities of the newly formed colonies, which then turned into America. Enslaved people built nearly all the railroad infrastructure in American South before the Civil War, constructing thousands of miles of track that connected the region. From the 1830s to 1860s, slave laborers cleared land, graded routes, and laid tracks for almost every major line east of the Mississippi and the south of the Mason-Dixon line. The nearly 9,000 miles of track in the antebellum South were almost exclusively built by slave labor, which utilized thousands of rented slaves prior to the arrival of the Chinese workers to finish the rest in the westward expansion and due to the abolishment of slavery. Many of you keep mentioning Mexicans and other groups in this convo without understanding continental America today wasn't America then. Mexico is also a colonial settler country by Spain. The native populations have existed in these lands for thousands of years, so there are no Mexicans or Native Americans. The United States territory brought slaves to this continent in 1619. The westward expansion wasn't until 2.5 centuries later. The enslaved population built the wealth of America for those 250 years. So Americans had the ability to buy Louisiana, buy Mexico, and expand the country. No one else did this. The westward expansion started in 1801 and ended in 1861, was the rapid territorial growth of the United States from the Mississippi River to the Pacific Ocean, driven by the ideology of manifest destiny. It was then that the United States took vast amounts of land from Mexico, primarily through the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848, which ended the Mexican-American War and ceded over 520,000 square miles, creating the Mexican Cession, including now California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona. This expansion caused the forced removal, destruction of culture, and confinement of Native American populations to reservations. When we're having these conversations, it's absolutely imperative that you have a grasp on American history and timelines to accurately reflect what's being discussed, because while immigrants absolutely developed America, Black Americans and their free labor are wholly responsible for the wealth that America built and made it the nation that it is today. This doesn't negate the later contributions of immigrants, but we have to tell the story correctly.
I am an African immigrant. I found it very disingenuous and intellectually dishonest to say that immigrants built America. The immigrant contribution is obviously significant, but to say that we have built America is not only historically inaccurate, but it's also insulting to the memories of foundational Black American ancestors who actually sacrificed their lives for us to be here today. 100 years ago, there was no non-white immigrants in America. Why? Because it's only after the 1964 Civil Rights Act that made racial discrimination illegal that non-white immigration was possible in mass. So for us African and Caribbean to come and tell foundational Black American that they have no culture when they are actually the most influential ethnic group on the global scale, it's insulting. Who has created hip-hop, R&B, soul, funk, rock, country, ebonics, the clothing? Like, come on, man. By giving somebody their respect does not mean I'm putting myself down. You are just honoring the truth. Let's stop that.
So Akbar said that immigrants built this country. So let me ask y'all a question. Was it immigrants' bones after 9/11 that they found under the World Trade Center? Or did they build over the immigrants' town in Central Park? And a lot of these lakes, are they a bunch of immigrant towns that they made lakes and flooded over? Was immigrants part of the New York riot when the YT was trying to undermine and fight going against the Civil War? Were they fighting back and bucking back? So they built projects in Brooklyn over a certain lead. Was it called the Immigrant Lead or the Negro Lead? Maybe I'm going crazy. Of course, immigrants had to be a part of the Stonewall Rebellion. They got to be a part of that rebellion, right? Was immigrants a part of the New York Slave Revolt when the people was bucking back and unaliving YT and were they a part of that? Did they have free immigrant communities in the 1600s and the 1700s in New York? I'm trying to understand where this rhetoric come from when people say immigrants built this country. I'm trying to understand where this come from because last time I checked, the majority came late 1965 when things are already built, right? Even the YT came late 1880s, early 1900s. You can look up a YouTube video called Immigration to Americas when they're looking at the things already built, the buildings to the everything else, right? And so if 95% of YT came late 1800s, early 1920s, what make y'all think in the 1965 that you guys built this country? When this country was built, even before the YTs came, the majority, 95% of them came. We got to stop this rhetoric, right? Just because you added salt and pepper to a meal, if you go into a kitchen and add salt and pepper to a meal, that doesn't mean you created the meal, right? You added on to, yes. Shout outs to you. You added on to what was already built. But that doesn't mean you created or built anything. You just added on to the foundation of what was already built. You got to understand, this is the reason why the United States of America is a first world country, because of the first world inventions from the Black Americans, from the refrigerator to the traffic light, right, to the doorknob, to the GPS, and all the things that we created is now being erased because people are saying immigrants built this country. Black Americans is not immigrants, so I know you ain't applying that. And we definitely not talking about people that came after 1965 or late 1880s, early 1900s. So with that being said, I love y'all. Chiholo lady, check my Isha Chiki. Y'all have a good one. I love y'all. Be safe.
So a lot of people try to rule out the effort of Black Americans, especially when it has to do with who built America, because this has been a discussion for a very long time. It didn't start today. It has always been in existence. It's something that has been in existence for long, because since America becomes what it is, a lot of people keep bringing up topics and suggestions and impressions, saying that, oh, immigrants built America. America was built by immigrants, forgetting that America was built at the back of enslaved people. Okay, Black Americans literally built America. Yes, we cannot remove the immigrants totally, because the infrastructure that we see today, yes, they contributed to it, but you cannot say that, oh, they built it. Recently, okay, I think I mentioned it before, that the mayor of New York recently said that, oh, that immigrants actually built New York, and it has sparked a lot of conversations on social media as well. Okay, so now it is very important for us not to deny immigrants' contribution. Waves of immigrants from Ireland, Italy, China, Mexico, and the Caribbean, South Asia, Eastern Europe, and Africa have undeniably contributed to infrastructure, industry, science, and culture. Chinese laborers helped build the, transcontinental railway. Irish immigrants labored on canals and in factories. Jewish and Italian immigrants fueled urban manufacturing. More recently, immigrants have played a significant role in healthcare, technology, and of course, entrepreneurship, from hospitality in rural America to tech corridors in San Francisco and beyond. However, there is a key moral and historical distinction that often gets blurred in public discourse. Most immigrants, despite discrimination and hardship, chose to come to America seeking opportunity. Clock that. Okay, enslaved Africans did not choose. Okay, most of the people who were brought in, yes, that's been another knowledge that we all have gotten, that some Black Americans were already there, some of them were brought in, which I'm seeing online, okay, which a lot of people are talking about here. So anyway, enslaved Black Americans, okay, they didn't choose to come to the US, right? A lot of them was brought in. They were, stripped of their language, their culture, and legal identity. Their labor was not rewarded with wages, land grants, or upward mobility. It was stolen. And even to date, they have been saying, oh, we're going to pay reparation, which we have not seen. I don't think they've paid them any reparation, right? They have been talking about this for years, that they are going to pay reparation. And that was why a lot of people reacted to when Somalis said that they needed reparation. And it was like, the Black Americans who suffered for you guys to even come here have been owed reparation for years and yet have not been paid. And you guys are coming up with this whole talk about reparation for you guys because of ice rays and all that. When people say immigrant built America, they're often trying to counter, xenophobia, the idea that newcomers are a burden. But when the slogan is used without historical context, it can, inadvertently erase the, foundational role of enslaved Black Americans, right, and their descendants. It can flatten centuries of forced labor, racial terror, and of course, segregation and exclusion into a generic narrative of hard work. After emancipation, Black Americans did not suddenly gain access to the full promise of the country they had built. Reconstruction was followed by Jim Crow laws, racial violence, and of course, redlining, mass incarceration, and systemic discrimination. Black Americans fought in every major American, wars, and paid taxes, titled land, innovated in music and science, and built communities under conditions that were often openly hostile. And the story of America is not a competition of suffering or contribution. It is a layered history. Immigrants have built parts of America. Black Americans, including those who were enslaved, built foundational pillars of America. Indigenous people inhabited and shaped the land long before European settlement. Did you get that? Okay. Each group's experience is distinct, and historical accuracy demands that we acknowledge those distinct rather than collapse them into a single slogan. Okay, it is also important to recognize that immigrants themselves have sometimes benefited consciously or unconsciously from systems that marginalize Black Americans. In different periods, some immigrant groups were gradually incorporated into category of whiteness, gaining access to housing, education, and of course political power that Black Americans were systemically kind of denied. Federal housing policies in the 20th century, for example, opened suburban opportunities to many European immigrants, while redlining Black neighborhoods. That dynamic complicates the simple narrative that all marginalized groups experience America in the same way. At the same time, there have been, moments of solidarity. The civil rights movement influenced immigration reform, including the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965, which reshaped immigration patterns. And black activism, explained the democratic space in which later immigrants could pursue opportunities. And in that sense, the struggles of Black Americans helped redefine America in ways that benefited others. So even when Black Americans are fighting for themselves, they're not just fighting for themselves alone, they're fighting for every other person. So when people come out and say, oh, immigrants built America, they just forget the main thing. Black Americans contributed mostly. It was built at their back. You guys only made a little contribution here and there after they have done the major work for you guys. Anyway, guys, let me know what you all think. I'm just going to wrap it up here. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Credit belongs to original creators of these videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop your own take in the comment section. And I'll see you all on my next. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and see you all next time. Bye, guys.